Hi and welcome. I'm Armin, you're watching Moto, and this is my little bit hidden 2025 S1000 RR. Usually I don't make this kind of videos, but in my previous video I will link it here in the corner or it's in the description below depending on what device you're on, where I made a promise that if my video gets over 100 likes, I will give you a video about my bike and all the changes I did to it. So here it is. I will try to make it a little bit interesting by explaining also why I choose certain parts instead of just saying, look at all the parts, because everything I put on the bike has a certain purpose. Before we jump in, if you like BMW S1000 RR content, give it a like. And now let's have a look at the bike. Alrighty, so how did it all start? Whenever I build a bike, usually it's a theme or like a purpose that a bike is supposed to serve. And this one is a track toy. So I'm not planning to win any prizes with it. Also not planning to ride it on the street really. The idea was just like, what are the minimum changes I want to do to have really the maximum amount of fun on the track? So this is the idea behind this bike. How did it start? It was a total base configuration that you usually don't see in the dealerships. I had to special order it without any options checked. 2025 S1000 RR. And then I started throwing away the street parts and replacing them by awesome track parts. The nice thing about the base model is they're pretty affordable. I will put somewhere here on the screen what it actually costs. And then you have more budget left for actually modifications. And modify we did. So I threw a lot of parts at it. And the idea with the parts was they should be track focused and they should be high quality so you don't have any issues. Also, as you saw by the bike cover already, it's Alpha Racing inspired. The idea is to go with standard racing parts so that at the racetrack, if something goes wrong, a lot of people have parts, but also people use it for racing. They know it works. And if you have to troubleshoot an issue, it's much easier because the community uses it. So there's no crazy exotic parts on it. But, well, have a look. Maybe there's some parts that are new to you. And of course, if you have any more questions about any parts, put some questions in the comments below. All right, one of my favorite things, geeking out about beautiful BMW S1000 RRs, M1000 single Rs, whatever, beautiful machines. So let me fill you in about this very bike. Let's dive into the first section, ergonomics. Whenever I get a bike, I always start with making myself comfy. So ergonomics is super important to me. And what are the main points? We have the seat, the tank where your butt and your legs touch the bike, foot pegs, and then the hand controls. So that entire triangle, I always try to dial in first. And let's see what we have here. So this is a little bit older pre-2025 M seat. The new M Endurance seat is higher. And so the 25 seat I put away and went with this is of a 2023 S1000 RR M spec. I really like the seat. I'm very used to it. And a lot of people seem to not like the new seats. So seat is pretty straightforward. Then we have the tank pads. I always use the Stomgrip ones. Yes, they tear up your leathers a little bit around the knee area, but they offer really good grip. And then here's also a Stomgrip center part, so that you don't slide around so much there. And also the tank nowadays scratches really easily, so just to protect the paint from all the athletics where you're jumping around from one side to another on the tank and hanging off. The standard tank really works well for me. I love the shape, so didn't need to do anything there. For foot pegs, I think for track riding, adjustable foot pegs are really important. And then up here in the corner, I will link you a video to when I installed these Öhlins FXR, these Öhlins foot pegs. What I really liked about them, they're really good quality. The pegs themselves are super grippy, so you never slide off. And then you have also a little bit of a raised area here where you can put your foot on and pivot it around. It's really cool. And they have also awesome details like printed millimeter numbers on how far you're away from the stock setup. So in this setup, I am one slot up from OEM and same, so 0 millimeters back. What is also very cool is you can really adjust where the shifter is. When you move the foot pegs around a lot, to have a shifter in a comfortable position, really important. So you have these 3 settings, and also this one you can loosen up to put this one up and down. Then also this one is set on GP shift, and then here you would have regular shift. But you also see there's 2 holes where you can attach this adapter for the quick shifter too. And if you can see it, focus, focus, focus. It says the S and F, which is essentially slow and fast, or stock and fast. The stock setting is here, and when you set it further out here, same on that side, you have a longer lever resulting in a quicker shift. So for racetrack, it's really nice to put it into the faster setting and then put this exactly into the position where you need it. So you never get a false neutral, and the shifting is really quick and crisp. Love it. Another good thing about track parts, of course, is if you crash, you might want to order some replacement parts. Öhlins offers you to buy every separate part. Right, if you need a new foot peg, a certain screw or so, they can special order that for you and you can replace it. All right, ergonomics wise, this time I went still with the OEM clip-ons. I can have a video here about putting other clip-ons on, but the OEM position really works well for me. So overall, not too much changes for the ergonomics. Tank pads, seat, foot pegs, and I'm happy. This bike works really, really well for me, and I'm super comfortable over the tank. I love it. All right, next section. One part I almost forgot for the ergonomics, the WRS double bubble shield is really great. Of course, it's transparent, so it's a little bit hard to film, but it's pretty high and gives me awesome wind cover. So when I'm tucked in behind the bike, the wind goes nicely over and I feel essentially no wind on my body. Really, really nice little cocoon setup. On top of that, also these shields are lighter, quite a bit. I think half a pound lighter than an OEM shield. I can't recommend it enough. WS shields are really, really nice. As we're already on the side with the beautiful Akrapovice exhaust, let's talk about power modifications. For my taste, this bike doesn't need any more power just to make it more rideable, and that's exactly what I focused on. So I have a full titanium Akrapovice race exhaust, and then I just got a flash. I went with open flash with shift to smoothen out the bike, make it rideable, and make good use of the full race exhaust system. Beyond that, really no mods to make it go faster. A couple of things make it lighter, but we will talk about that in a second. So yeah, just throw on an exhaust and then map it and you're good to go. Quick word on the stickers or the looks overall of the bike. So I didn't do a lot of modifications. It's the OEM fairings. I just put some sticker kit on. This is from Vulture Bike. They make really high quality stickers. You can make the bike look however you want. I went with the overall design that they used for the M1000 bikes they use in World Superbike Racing, and then also for the yellow tinted LED covers, A for protection from rock chips on the track, but also B to make it look a little bit more like the World Endurance Racing bikes. Down there, my racing number 67. It's a reminder of a dear good old friend. So here my racing number and also stickers from my YouTube channel. So if you have not subscribed, this is a great opportunity to subscribe to Monomoto. Then the only modification I did really for looks is then also I have the block off plates here and also in the tail and right there. It's really Nice how easy it is nowadays to take off the license plate and all the lights in the back. So you have no indicators, brake lights, and you're directly ready for the track. Just takes a couple of minutes. These are OEM BMW parts, and it's called something like the race kit, race block off kit or something like that. So you can get it through every BMW dealer to block off the front and the back. Alrighty, let's talk about crash protection a little bit. In the rear, I have some spools, right? They give minimal protection for sliding over the ground. So I went with the Pitbull ones. They fit nice with the Pitbull stands, but they're also out of a plastic, which is pretty soft, so it slides pretty well and doesn't catch. And yeah, they also work really well. Minimal protection, but still something there. Then for the engine, we have the GB Racing covers, and they're just awesome. They're top quality. Race teams use it. Can definitely not go wrong with those. Really good protection around the engine. And then also here is a tiny little Alpha Racing knobbin, just the smallest frame slider. The idea is that if the bike goes down, that the frame will be a little bit protected, but you don't have any street frame sliders sticking out, anything that could catch, so the bike gets flipped over and gets more damage on the racetrack. Because if you're lucky, the smaller crashes on the racetrack are usually losing the front, and your bike just slides a little bit on the side. Then, of course, the foot peg is also fixed, so that will give a little bit of protection because it will grind over there. And then on the front, the OEM fender is now pretty wide, so you have a little bit of cover, but again, in a bigger crash, of course, it's not going to help you. But for a tiny little slide, that will probably protect the axle from the first couple of scuffs. But it's not proper race protection, it's just there to give you a little bit of peace of mind. For a lot of people that race, you see the lever guard here so that another bike cannot hit your brake accidentally. I don't run one. Last time I made contact with a bike, this is my lovely scar from breaking my pinky in lots of places. And so while it can protect your lever, in this case, it broke my finger. And this is often with things, right? Like the more you put on the bike, the more there's a chance you get caught on it. So for racing, you need to have it, but for a normal track day, where you're usually not rubbing, where people are directly in risk of hitting you on the brake lever there, I would not recommend it. It can also do you harm. Alrighty, additional electronics. Often I get questions here about how I'm filming the videos on my YouTube channel. If you have not seen my YouTube channel, go check it out. You will see a lot of stuff filmed with that Insta. And you can see it's very simple. Just a GoPro mount here and then a little bit lean forward. So this entire valley offers enough space for my helmet. So my chin is here on the deck when I'm on the straights. And then this is capturing everything. It's a 360 camera. Really, really neat and really simple setup. Then sometimes I also run a lap timer here, the aim lap timer. And there's a video that I can link here that shows you how I mounted it there. But sometimes I also just use a little Bluetooth lap timer that goes into the trunk right in here. And then I get the lap times after my session, so it's not distracting when I'm on the bike. But yeah, super simple electronic setup and works really well. And then little pet peeve, there's also a screen protector over the dashboard, just so you can wipe it down and see everything clearly. I hate it when you get a scratch on it because I look at it so often, especially to shift exactly by the red line, but definitely not necessary, but just a little pet peeve of mine. Alrighty, let's talk about the big items. Wheels, tires, and suspension. Everything that keeps the bike onto the ground. And that's probably where I invested most of the money into this build, to have really nice suspension, really nice wheels, and the best rubber that I can find. And kids, you should always use good rubber, else you have some accidents that might haunt you for many years. Sometimes happy accidents. But anyway, back to the topic. Hidden down here is Öhlins. That's how it's pronounced. Öhlins. Repeat and speak with me. So Öhlins TTX shock, adjustable in every way. It's tuned by Daredevil. So the valving was adjusted for racetrack use, which is really, really nice and gives you just really, really good planted grip out of the corners, so that if you open the throttle fully at lean angle, you're just firing out of corners, and this makes it possible to put the power down. You can see also the tire wear is pretty nice. Last time, so that tiny little bit of this kind of eraser setup here on the sides where it was still a little bit too cold, but the rest of the tire looks lovely. So early season, still need to work on my setup a little bit to make it perfect. But these SC2s work really well. Oh yeah, by the way, tires. We have the Diablo Superbike tires that are used for World Superbike. They are the large size. So we have large size tires in the front and the rear. What is large size? I have a video about that as well here, but you see it's a 265. And then you probably already spotted it. These are not BMW rims, but these are OZ Racing rims, which are quite a bit lighter than BMW ones. They're really lovely. So you have less rotating mass and they just give you better track performance. Also, when I bought this bike, actually BMW was out of the M wheels, which are pretty good as well. And I had to buy other wheels to get them, and these are definitely nicer and cost essentially the same. Down here, you see this is not a stock chain. So we have a DID 520 chain. The chain is lighter, and so it's easier to spin up the tire. 520 conversions are pretty common. It just wears out quicker, but it's less mass to move around, so you save some weight. And it's easier to get this thing up to speed. Gearing wise, I'm almost at stock. If you're curious about it, I can shoot me a message in the comments and I can look up the tooth. I have 42 here in the back. As you can see, we did some small adjustments, but very, very close to stock, but not quite. And down here, you have a lovely Alpha Racing adjuster. The nice thing about these things is when you take out the tires very often at the racetrack. With this lady at fast A group pace, I usually wear out a rear tire a day. So it's quite often that I change rear tires. And with these, you don't have flimsy blocks that are falling out. And also you have a clicker in here where you can adjust the chain slack just by clicking it. And you have a nice little scale here. So you get it perfect, that the axle on both sides is held exactly in the same spot. And the tire is moving straight and not wobbling around in a weird angle and prematurely wearing out or overheating. So really nice little thing when you change tires very often. On the other side, you can also see it's a different nut. And also the nut is on this side rather than on the OEM side. I don't like that so much because you have the exhaust there. So getting the torque wrench in there is always a little bit of a tighter setup. But yeah, works well. And it's lighter, easier to adjust, and the blocks don't fall out when you get the axle in and out. So it just makes the changes easier and less of fuffery. Right, almost forgot, on this side I have a strap and a little RNG block-off plate. This is really just to have a strap here, so for transporting on the trailer. One more point to easily tie down the bike. You can always go through here. This is easier to just hook in here and serve me really, really well. Moving to the front. So here we have the Öhlins FKR cartridge kit. What it means is you only change the inside and the fork leg itself, well, it's all covered up by plastics. But the forks that you really cannot see because they're covered up by BMW parts are stock BMW. So new Öhlins cartridge in here. Also, the dampening is adjusted by Daredevil, so the bike can deal much better with the forces on the track. One funny thing is it has these little Alpha Racing caps, and they're just really there that the preload doesn't move out by itself. It's one of the issues with these cartridges where with vibration they move themselves, and this holds them in place. Bit of an annoying thing when you spend so much money already on Öhlins stuff, but there you go. You get nicer parts and you have more problems. So these little guys are fixing it and keeping it in place. Same thing front, we have the OZ wheels here. But one thing that's very different is we have the, oh, little dirty. We have Alpha Racing's Evo disc brakes in the front here. The nice thing is they're fully floating and they're lighter. So what that means is they can move left to right a little bit, and that gives you better brake performance, better brake feel. And then in here, we have Alpha Racing double sintered pads, so track pads. And then with the air vent here, plus Alpha Racing disc, plus Alpha Racing pads, combined with some Motul RBF 700 fluid, I never have any brake fade. The brake lever is always at the same spot, and the brakes just feel fantastic. So again, lighter rotors and pads that are made for the track use. No brake fade, almost too much braking power, and you need to get used on my bike to brake less because the brakes are just so down strong and stop you very quickly. Speaking of stopping, of course, the party piece is up here. And this is a very nice master cylinder from Brembo, right? Again, going with quality stuff. This is a forged cylinder, has many names, nothing fancy like the Corsa Quarter or so. This is like the PR 19x18. So just a forged racing cylinder. And what it gives you is just better tolerances. This was also what they put onto the BMW HP4 race bike. And then I put a fancy Z racing lever on here. You see, you have all the holes drilled out so that wind at very, very high speeds, that the wind doesn't move the lever. It also has like here the cutout to be as light as possible. And then here I have a nice little red anodized adjusting nut. And then also a clear tubing here so you can see if there's any bubbles in your fluid. And then here, last but not least, we have a nice little Stahlbus. So it's German for steel and bus, essentially. It's a smart little bleeder, which has a spring-loaded ball in it. So when you're bleeding, air cannot come back in, but only goes out. So that way, oh yeah, oh baby. So it feels so good. So not to get too excited, but you have a little bit of play, and here you feel the brakes, and here it's essentially a hard stop. So there's no air in the system, and you have just a really, really lovely brake feel. So it's not an on-off switch. You have like a friction zone, and then you have hard braking here. But it all happens within a couple of millimeters, and is much, much, much nicer than the spongy OEM setup. It's not super cheap, but if you have a fetish for good feeling brakes, this is definitely recommended. And also looks lovely. Bah! Ha! Almost forgot. And I have a little Alpha Racing tank cap, but these are nice because they have no key. Problem is they can fall out if you don't close it properly. But if you're refueling often, it's nice that you don't need to use the key out, and you can get access to the tank much easier to put in just the fuel that you need for your upcoming session. Alrighty, and this is it. So this is my lovely 2025 S1000 RR. If there will be more changes, I will make some videos about it. I have also an entire playlist on this channel. Any parts I put on the bike, you will find a video most likely on my channel. So if you like this kind of content, give it a like and or subscribe. If you want to geek out more, if you have questions about what spring rates I'm using, what kind of dampening settings I'm using, tire pressure, or anything else that you think I forgot to talk about the bike, or anything that you want to change about, always happy to geek out about bikes. So give me a message and then we can chat about it. Also, down to her, but there's also a new Ducati in the family. So I will make some new videos very soon about the new 2025 Panigale V2 that I also got. I'm still getting to know the bike, and once I feel like I have enough information, I will start making some videos about it as well. But also riding season is just starting, so I can't wait to ride this bike on track and then the Panigale also more on the street. Thank you for making it all the way to the end. This is everything for today. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. Until next time. And bonus. Totally forgot. These little caliper bolts are drilled and titanium. And so are these, also titanium. Totally not necessary. I'm silly. Anyway, bye.